Hi, welcome to my vlog. For those who have just joined, my name is Victor, the author of an ongoing series of novels going by the title Ifile Sonja. Today marks yet another exciting day where I sit down and read a snippet from one of my novels. As earlier indicated, writing the debut to the series has been absolutely magical. It took me about 5 years to do so. And for those of us who might have interacted with the first edition, you realize that the cover has changed. The sequel to Survive is going by the title Torchwood Confinement. This took me a year and a half to publish, and for those who might have had a glimpse of the cover to the first edition, you'll notice it has also changed. So in fact, this is the edition from which I'm going to base my today's vlog posting, so I hope you enjoy. So let's start right away. Today's extract is one you might find thought-provoking, but at the same time you will own that it will be quite interesting to connect the dots and actually crystallize what's happening in the scene. It's 3 a.m. York buildings. I'm about to break into Thames House to steal the Nightblight. Now, for those who've been reading this, you obviously know Nightblight is a biological weapon, and this forms the core specifics of what this whole saga is all about. Now, of course, most of us are aware that Thames House is an office building in London, on the north bank of River Thames, just adjacent to Lambeth Bridge, that serves as the headquarters of the UK's internal security, otherwise the MI5. Lambeth Bridge is a road traffic and footbridge crossing River Thames in an east-west direction in central London. So this is the cover to my debut, that is Survive, and this is the cover to Torchwood Confinement. So I'm gonna start reading. So I'm in company with a man you will come to appreciate as Alex Zicket. So Alex glanced at me, said nothing. For a good cause, my cause, I told myself, he'll think I chickened. This card seemed to afford him much more amusement than the previous. You would think he had the knowledge of surveillance at Thames House. If he had not been too hasty in drawing his gun and firing 3 shots in the air, I'd never have destroyed our boards by the imprecations I shouted that it had not been necessary. It is not my want in this record, though in all other essentials it is my written memory in pursuance of the past of my own frictions. It's a whole new freaking crisis. We made a safe exit, took tram number 7D and alighted at Penguin Gas Station 12 minutes later. The crescent moon and paved way for a cold blanket of mist. Now snow. No snow, I beg your pardon. Hail, no hail but drizzle. We walked and made into Spectre Lane subway station on foot. 3 minutes later, we boarded number 56G, direction Spectre Street. We split, said Alex, as we alighted the U56G. John, this way, please. We take the stairs. Jerry and Chambers straight ahead. 7 minutes to go by. We meet at Thames House, Zone J. Jerry will lead the way. No big deal. 7 minutes, Jerry. 7 to go by. So I move to chapter 14. If you saw me a month before and today you met me, you would be convinced I had been galled to death by an insane bull. Realities to the current storm of predicaments and the functions to my pessimism seemed not to trigger positive reservations in the direction of my making into and out of Thames House alive. The jaws of death, of which we, the byproducts of doom, had been trained to be profoundly as ignorant as we could, were not to be trivialized. Not here, not anywhere else. Here, you are screwed up. You are resigned to your fate. You completely surrender to the wheels of fortune. You live in a routine from gunshots to gunshot woods and you hope you make it. You want to train your patience to submit to a balance of proactive nature. Like a leopard walking into a changing ecosystem, you want to be constantly aware of the pressures the adversaries tossed back at you. That was the new normal. I dare say stimulating 2 minds of my own with regards to what conclusions were to be drawn was the likeliest thing that should have happened if I should have succumbed to the temptations that the men in my company presented by smoking pot. Nonetheless, I'd be different. Mustn't pretend to. That I saw, at least for the time being, under a parallel circumstance defined by 2 extremes of desire and a natural inclination for having Julia rather than ferocious puffs of Jamaican port. As it was, Agent Grimwig Schrödinger could count his real deal boys on both hands without sparing any fingers. A majority had been deployed for the covert dumpster diving moves in Munich after the Hotel Schweinstein explosion. Of course, it wouldn't sound like really a good profession to go home every day and tell your wife that's what you've been doing all day. Boys were now out, glad to fly away. They had not seen maggots for days. At 3 a.m., we made our way towards designation X, Grosvenor Square. Here, blood went cold. At Chantry House, it was chill, for mine was an accidental companionship whose intent had been voiced before my ears, sustaining 2 pleasantries to the subconscious mind. Then we ignored Atterbury Street and took Millbank. Thames House was enshrouded in mist. A flock of doves cooed about the western perimeter wall to the building, withdrawn from the busy Millbank Street as though they knew much about the unpleasant operation I had submitted myself to execute. All was set to no ordinary extent. Maybe the following day, Monday, a time like now, things would be different. But by evincing a desire to incur the trouble of applying myself to the business of retrieving night blight, and proven worthy of Alexander's confidence, there would be a polygraph test to be had on their returning to camp, of course. And should an injection of fresh blood be undertaken and that blood betrayed, I knew Howard would never have spared them the wrath of his new generation of head shrinkers. So I kept at this gloom of silence, I dare say, for 10 minutes, until the crashing of a dismal window pane somewhere between the ground floor and the basement within Thames House, I beg your pardon, interrupted this trance. Whilst my relationship with these London acquaintances continued to warm up, I couldn't help wondering at the fire of imagination with which such mischief and to be conceived. But when realities are galvanized against you like the shadows which I now relate, I must own, all you will do is give it your best shot. For a fact, the last time I had trodden grounds as frequently as I had found myself in, I was lost into the moorland of Kunduz Mountains in Afghanistan. But break-ins, by experience, posed imaginable challenges. Not because spiders would set webs in angles you couldn't see. No. It was by the fact that if you were trapped within, it would be hard to ascertain what sort of lockdown tact that might have been deployed. Pain was part of it. Task, a clear death sentence. But here I was doing it anyway. While executing my infiltration into the inner core of Thames House Armory, I sensed complete society of a rare breed of individuals on whom I could rely to conquer the enemy lurking in the shadows of the conflict of interest. By the look of it, the armory was fairly spacious. Staring at my soaked face were rows of secured sniper rifles and 10 cannon launchers strapped into steel bars cutting across the room. We squeezed ourselves into some upper chamber between two rows of M26 caliber grenades and scope precision bolt action snipers. Then we disconnected the emergency alarm system and made into the first floor. So folks, this is the extract that I wanted to read before you today, and it has been a pleasure. So please hit the subscribe button below and support the channel. Thank you.